jealous lovers, betrayal, and murder. So, are you ready for tonight's tale of murder and mystery and an airtight alibi with no evidence at all that's provable in court? How do you solve the murder case of the girl that was murdered in her parents' home with no signs of forced entry? You want to know how? I'll tell you how. You go to the police in Lyon, France in 1910 and you build your own crime lab, which is exactly what Edmond Locard did. And in 1912, 2 years later, he got a case that is exactly what I described to you. There was no signs of forced entry into Marie Littel's parents' home. She had a boyfriend named Emile Gorbin, and he was a bank teller, and he was the jealous type because she was a nice looking, pretty young lady. She had a little bit of money. Her mom and dad had a little bit of money. So he got jealous every time that she would go out and flirt with these guys. So here's what happened on the night he had enough. Added up to here, he went into her parents' home and killed her. But before that, he got with his buddies, see? And he planned out this card game where they were going to have dinner, there was going to be some booze, they were going to play cards and stay up and have a good night, have a little party. So yeah, there was dinner, a very light dinner. They mostly drank and played cards. And as the night grew on, they got drunker and drunker until they were woozy enough to where old Emile, he went over and he set the time up on his clock an hour ahead. So when it was 1 o'clock on the time clock, it actually was only midnight. So they thought they had been drinking and partying all night. They were ready to go home. They were staggering. So they left. And that's when Emile Gorbin went to Marie Littel's home, walked in, and strangled her to death. And then the police were called. They came and investigated and arrested Emile. He was the prime suspect. And whenever they arrested him, he said, "Look, talk to my friends. They know exactly where we were, exactly what time it was when they left. Yeah, I mean, we had a little bit to drink or whatever, but, by and large, they knew what was going on. They knew the whole time. So, we were all chilling in my house playing cards." That sounded plausible. But here's the thing. Edmond Locard wasn't buying it. See, he was the Sherlock Holmes of France, and he wasn't having any of this. He still suspected that old Emile here had something to do with it. So he went to the jail cell where Emile was being held, and he took scrapings from underneath Emile's fingernails. Took fingernail scrapings. And what he was looking for was skin cells. See, he set this lab up in the attic of the police station. And he has microscopes and other equipment set up in there. And what he was looking for, he couldn't prove it in court that the fingernail, the skin underneath the fingernail belonged to Marie Littel. But here's where he was clever. See, Edmond Locard, he said, "All right, but I see this pink powder." And he recognized that powder as a rice resin, a rice powder, as a base for old school makeup. that you had to get specifically made because it wasn't mass produced like it is today. So he went to that druggist in Lyon, France, and he took this little sample. Okay, Locard took this sample to this chemist, and the chemist says, "Yeah, I recognize my work. I got a whole batch of it here. You want to look at?" So Locard said, "No, that's all I needed." See, how many people do you make this makeup for? Locard asked the chemist, and the chemist said, "One client. One client only gets this specific makeup. Marie Latel. She is the only person that I've ever made it for, I've ever sold it to." That was it. That was the nail in the coffin as far as Emile Gorbin's alibi was concerned. Because Locard takes this information right back to the jail, broke it down for him step by step, and overcome, Emile said, "I confess. I did it all in a jealous rage. I was drunk." He got sentenced to life in prison. And that is how the very first forensics lab in world history ever came about, and it solved the murder of Marie Latel. And that's right here on the front porch. And tune in soon, because there's going to be more of this kind of material. I'm making a change in front porch science. I'm getting away from some of the other things that I had been talking about before, and I'm going in a new direction now, where the scientists help solve the case, or it's the first time in history where something happened that helps solve a murder. Or how about this one? Let me know in the comments what you think about this. How about if the scientist knows how to manipulate the evidence and tries to get away with murder? Something I could talk about, research, and then break it down for you. So, if you like tonight's episode, I say tonight because I'm making it at night, but it could be broad daylight when you watch it. But if you like today's episode, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, the like button, and keep your notification bell ringing. And stay tuned for more from the front porch.